we screw this up?
Andy Sullivan, Blue Collar Corner. We're here at the GOP headquarters in Brooklyn, New York. No, this is not a Yankee game or a football game. This is the Iowa Caucus, and we got a bunch of madmen here. And women. Okay, right now it seems like we got a three-way race going on. It is, it looks like Santorum, Romney, and Ron Paul. Now, is there who's a Ron Paul fan here? Right here. Would you actually vote for Ron Paul?
Yes, I would. In fact, I would.
Now, were you always a Ron Paul fan, or has he kind of grown on you?
I've been a fan for a while, but I'll tell you, I'm not good with him on the foreign policy, but on economics, he's number one.
Now, do you honestly think he's an electable Republican candidate? Can you see him actually beating President Obama?
If the economy stays where it is or gets weaker, yes. If there's improvement over the next year in the economy and unemployment numbers, perhaps not.
Now, what about the signing statement that President Obama just signed as far as detaining practically anyone? The wording in the national defense thing that he signed is so vague and so loose that he can end up detaining any one of us without charging us or bringing us any kind of due process whatsoever. Do you think Ron Paul is going to have enough, weight and gusto to come in here and maybe take that off the table?
Paul is a champion of civil liberties, so therefore that's going to give Paul a major issue over Obama. Another thing, he could criticize Obama about being a hypocrite, because when Obama was running, he used to attack Bush left and right. He didn't run against Bush, but he was always stating that what Bush does with his signing statements is unconstitutional. He's doing the same thing now. Obama has benefited off all of Bush's policies vis-a-vis Iraq, the surge, Guantanamo, and I think Paul could use this to spook Obama.
Okay, one thing. If Iran goes nuclear,
take him out.
If Iran goes nuclear, what's Paul going to do?
Paul,
he's not going to win.
He's not going to win. But if Iran goes nuclear, I think a guy like Paul will realize that he has to keep an eye on it. If Iran tries to do something with those nukes, I think he'd be forced to act, and he could always be Paul could always be a one-term president too.
Okay, are you in favor of legalizing drugs? Illegal drugs, of course.
Marijuana, I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem.
Okay, all right, we got a couple of marijuana. Okay, I need a Santorum supporter. Sammy. Okay, we got a Sammy Santorum. Well, tell the corner what your name is, sir.
Jacob Comblue.
Jacob, welcome to Blue Collar Corner. Okay, tell us about Santorum. What do you like about him?
Rick Santorum is A, conservative, B, a consistent conservative,
And C, a conservative.
and C, he has no baggage. I mean, Newt Gingrich has baggage like JFK Airport. He has...
Handles it as well.
Where'd you get that, from the Romney joke book?
He has no baggage, but he lacks national organization. He lacks the enthusiasm, the exciting crowd. So,
is he electable? Is he a candidate to beat Obama? That is basically a question for every conservative or Republican in the game today.
He hasn't proved that he is. It's up to him to prove that he could raise money. It's up to him to prove that he could place himself in the center, not far right, not too moderate if he's running as a conservative, but at least place himself in the center. On foreign policy, he's very strong. He's pro-Israel. He actually has a track record of acting against Iran, sanctions, and standing up for Israel. He was a representative in Pennsylvania for a large Jewish community. So he has everything. He only lacks the national organization.
What about Perry's charges? What about Perry's charges that he's a heavy pork barrel spender, and he also lobbied for a couple of groups that were very, very heavily into some extremely liberal advocate groups?
Well, he's a politician, and he has to bring something back for his constituents. I mean, if you look at other than Rick Perry, that comes from a conservative state, he's a governor, not a legislator. Ron Paul, even he doesn't put his name under these earmarks, but he brings them up for a vote in the Congress. So Mitt Romney has also a record of being more to the left when it comes to Massachusetts, or when he was running against Ted Kennedy. So everybody has his baggage in terms of not being too conservative on certain issues. But if you look at somebody that could moderate himself, it's rather Rick Santorum than Michelle Bachmann or Rick Perry that is passionate about himself, but he won't budge. He won't move himself from the right towards the center.
Okay, here's the most important question we're going to ask about Rick Santorum: the sweater vest. Is it working or not?
I'm not for short sleeves. I'm a long.
He likes the sleeves. Likes the sleeves. No, not a vest man. Not a vest man. We got any Perry people in here? Any Perrys? Oh! One of my favorite conservatives in the world, Russ Gallo. Russ, tell us about Perry. What's the attraction to him? Besides the fact that he's one gorgeous guy.
Oh, well, I don't know if he's as good looking as Mitt, but Rick Perry, true conservative, terrific record in Texas, executive experience. As conservatives start dropping out of this race, which they probably will start doing tonight, those voters are not going to Mitt Romney, and they're certainly not going to Ron Paul. So Perry is the guy. These guys are going to coalesce around Rick Perry, and it's not just because he's electable, which I know the Romney people are touting that. Romney's electable. All right, terrific. Rick Perry's electable. People said Ronald Reagan was not electable, and they picked Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford got wrecked. Ronald Reagan came back in 1980 and wrecked Jimmy Carter. Obama is 10 times worse than Jimmy Carter.
They wanted Jimmy Carter to run, the Democrats.
And I'm
sorry, they wanted Ronald Reagan to run against Jimmy Carter.
And believe me, the worst nightmare of the Democrats and the liberals in this country right now is a conservative like Rick Perry, because Rick Perry will win the election. America is ready for a conservative. Last time we ran a moderate Republican named John McCain. And look at the mess we're in now.
Well, what do you think? You know, Jacob brought up a good point about Santorum being that he could float into the middle. Now, are you a believer in the Reagan principle, where it shouldn't be these pale pastels, it should be big, bold colors, as far as taking stronger conservative stance and instead of trying to be that squish type of candidate that they're talking about?
Yeah, I actually would disagree with the premise. I don't believe Santorum would go to the middle at all on anything. He's a pretty solid conservative. That's why he lost in Pennsylvania by 18 points when he ran for his Senate seat. But I do agree, we shouldn't be going to the middle. Ronald Reagan ran as a conservative, and he won in a landslide.
He pulled everybody to the right.
Yes. The country is right of center, so there's no reason to go to the middle. If you start slightly right of center, when you negotiate, you wind up left of center. So you can't start there. If you're a conservative, you run as a conservative, you will win. Every time we run a moderate Republican, we lose. Bob Dole was not a strong conservative. George Herbert Walker Bush was not a strong conservative. George W. Bush ran as a conservative and then governed more.
Yeah, he went wild spending.
Absolutely. And John McCain, by no stretch of the imagination, was a conservative, and that's why he got wrecked. So, no, Santorum is not the deal with Santorum, just I want to piggyback on what he was saying before, Jacob. Santorum has barely enough money and no organization to go any further than this tonight. So if he does well, he'll go to New Hampshire probably on a bus, but that's all he's going to be able to afford to do, and he's going to be out of this race pretty quick.
You don't think he'll carry momentum if he does very well right into New Hampshire and possibly the Carolina?
I don't see him doing well in New Hampshire. Mitt Romney is doing extremely well in New Hampshire, but it's more of a right of center state, not really a conservative state. So as the conservatives start to drop out, like I was saying earlier, when Bachmann leaves, when Santorum leaves, when Ron Paul finally leaves, these people are not going to Romney. Romney has maxed out at 25%. That means 75% of Republicans are not for Mitt Romney. The conservative candidate is going to pick up momentum. Rick Perry has enough money to make it into Super Tuesday and then some. He's going to collect up all these other conservative votes as they drop.
Okay, great. Russ Gallo, thank you for your opinion, sir. I need a Romney guy. Oh, no, you already said Thor guy. Get out of here. Okay, introduce yourself to the Blue Collar Corner.
All right, my name is Yakov Bard. So I've been around for a year and a half with the Brooklyn Republican Party. I'm psyched to be here, and this is going to be a big year. And
You got a fan.
I got many fans, but all right.
Now, Mitt Romney, is he our guy? If he is, why?
Okay, I have been. Okay, there were people. I wanted Mitch Daniels. I wanted Christie. I even Huntsman. I was looking at Huntsman, but I mean Huntsman isn't going anywhere.
Romney, talk Romney to me.
So, I even looked at Perry. I listen, I get it. Romney isn't the most conservative. He's less conservative than I am, and I'm not even the biggest conservative out there. So, okay, so I didn't even, so I was like, okay, fine, let me look. Let me see if there's one guy that can, I don't care how conservative the guy is. I just want that this guy can, this guy can stand up against Obama in a debate and look into his eyes and say, this is why you're wrong. Simple, plain, don't go all conservative on me. Listen,
Yakov, what do you like about Romney?
I like about Romney. Listen, I have never been as psyched about Romney till like 2 days ago. I heard him describe the difference between our system, the American system, and the European system. The European system. He said, listen, we might have the DNA traced all the way to Europe, but the real difference between us and Europe is because the freedom has been our guy. Basically, he sounded like a guy. Okay, he's not. He has his medic. He has links to Obamacare. I get it, and I actually think he regrets it. It's just if the political climate wouldn't have been so polarizing, he'll actually have the guts to come out and admit that his name. But it's just he wants to win an election out there. But I absolutely. How can you not believe that this guy wouldn't do anything in his power against Obamacare? That's number one. Number two, this guy, he believes in America. He has experience in the business, and his national security policies, he hasn't been in the military, but you hear him talk about national security, is solid. So I am sick and tired in general of people saying, oh, you can't vote for him. He is not conservative enough. It's not how conservative you are, who you are, what you are. It's what you stand for and what you believe in. It's very simple. If anybody else would have met the criteria, I would have gone for him over Romney 100%.
So you put a person, not the party.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. I am a registered Republican, so no one's going to tell me how to be Republican. I vote as long as I don't vote for BHO in 2012. I am a Republican. I come here. I participate in Republicans. I'm a proud Brooklyn young Republican. And how are you to tell me I am not conservative enough? I am a Republican in name only. I mean, really? You really?
Yakov, you're a fine Republican. Don't let no one tell you different.
Listen, Andy, it's a pleasure hearing it from an outstanding citizen like you that has fought.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Listen. I just want to wrap it up because there are other people, and I don't want to gobble up the time up here. But seriously, if you can, listen, I'm actually looking at Rick Santorum right now. I am watching Iowa closely for one reason. Who is the new alternative to Romney? Rick Santorum, for the first time has been.
But we're talking about Romney.
Okay, fine.
Stay with Romney.
Okay, fine. Let me stick for Romney. If no one.
We're off to sweater vest. We're into the tight jeans now. We're to Romney.
Okay, Romney can appeal to independents and to moderates. I agree. In South Carolina, he'll have a very hard time beating whoever the alternative, which will likely be Santorum. And so he will have a hard time beating that alternative. As a conservative, remember John McCain had to sweat it through against Fred Thompson in 2008. and he got beaten by George W. Bush, and we saw the dirty tactics down there. And listen, he wasn't.
That's politics.
That is politics, but listen, Romney, he's got the money. You have to remember, Bush, the whole party, he had the party support, he had the money coming into this. So McCain was outspent, and so that's where he met his political end.
Okay. Well, Jaco, thank you very much. Good luck, and God bless you, sir.
God bless you.
Okay. Gene, come here.
Oh, I'm in demand over here.
Give us some time.
Oh, my goodness. Where did I get this? Andy Sullivan, how the hell do I get
That looks like some nice GOP wear you got there.
Oh, that's just
This could be the new trend.
This is
the
20
collared.
This is the 20-degree weather trend for the Brooklyn GOP.
It is freezing out here.
How you doing, pal?
Very good, Gene. How you been yourself?
Oh, it's a great night in here. I mean, we had over 20 people in here just sitting around the TV, watching, talking politics. We did our own little poll before. It's fantastic.
How did the House poll do? What was the numbers?
I'm not exactly sure. I think it came out with like Romney on top, 46%, followed by Perry with 24, something like that. But those are the top two. We'll have Russell tell you later.
Now, last we spoke, I believe you didn't put your finger on somebody yet.
Right, well,
how about today?
Well, tonight the field is narrowing. I don't think I'm going to ever go towards Bachman. I don't think I'm ever going to go towards Paul. I don't think I'm ever going to go towards Santorum. To me, it's down to two candidates. It's actually three candidates. Down to Romney, it's down to Perry, and it's down to Gingrich for me.
Okay, you're the first person to mention Gingrich. Now, do you think after that? I was pretty impressed with Gingrich's ability to withstand $9 million worth of negative ad campaign. I mean, Romney really steamrolled him with that, and he's still hanging tough. He's in double digits, and I think he's going to recover slightly, and who knows what can happen in the next state or two. He might have the ability to bounce back. What do you think?
If there's a theme song tonight for Newt Gingrich's victory campaign, or whatever you want to call it, his party afterwards, it's got to be "I'm Still Standing."
Very good.
Because at this point, like you said, $9 million in attack ads after being the last flavor of the month or whatever you want to call them, and he's going to end up in the top four. And if you really consider it a top three because people think that Ron Paul's not going to go anywhere, then he's in the top three. So this should give him some momentum moving forward. And, when you go to a southern state like South Carolina, he's from Georgia, right? So that could build up some momentum for him. The money is going to be the real issue here. The biggest winner of the night is going to be Santorum, because he's going to get a big money boost out of this great showing that he had.
Is it going to be enough, though, to carry him through maybe a state or two at the most?
Well, right now it's who can last the Super Tuesday, and that's, I think, March. Does he have enough to make it there? He's not going to do well in New Hampshire. Nobody's going to do well in New Hampshire. Romney's got that locked up by like 30 points. South Carolina is the next battleground. Whoever comes out of South Carolina is going to probably make it to Super Tuesday. But I think at this point, you're looking at those three, because Perry's got the money. Even though he's not having that great of a showing tonight, he's got the money to recover. Gingrich may get a little bit of a money boost out of this, going through the attacks and still standing. Again, like we said last time, he's the smartest man in the room. He may come out and still be around after South Carolina. Romney's going to be there. It all depends on who's going to be the conservative that's going to throw a monkey wrench into Perry's comeback. But when all these conservatives stop dropping out, you're going to see Perry pick up some steam, and he's going to pick up momentum, and he'll come back around again for another flavor of the month turn, maybe.
Well, I noticed he's really making a very strong appeal towards the evangelicals. First of all, because Iowa is heavy with evangelicals, and it's a mostly white state, it's a mostly Christian state, and right now those social issues seem to outweigh the economy, because the economy is very, very good. Right. It was almost shielded from the whole economic mess. Right. So this particular caucus is kind of not just dealing with the economy, but dealing with the other facets of leadership.
Right. Well, let's talk about two things when we talk about Iowa. First thing is, you're talking about 7 delegates to the winner. It's not exactly a big deal. It's only a big deal because it's the first. You're also talking about an area that you hit the nail on the head. The economy wasn't as bad in Iowa as it was in the rest of the nation. So economic issues didn't resonate. Perry's strong suit is talking about economics. 1/3 greater unemployment in the state of Texas than there was everywhere else in the nation. So
pretty impressive.
That's a big deal to a lot of people out.
But Texans don't like him?
I do know that, and the reason is you talk about the history. Karl Rove didn't like him, and the George Bush Republicans didn't like him. So there was a lot of problems.
Something going on there.
There is something going on there. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's definitely deep rooted in history. I think the point that we're going to take out of tonight is when you talk about evangelicals, Santorum kind of pulled a lot of them his way to begin with. And you're talking about a lot of areas that are rural. When you talk about rural Iowa being the hotbed right now for the caucuses, you're talking Santorum. These are small caucus areas, but they definitely all went his way.
He did a lot of blue-collar work down in Iowa. Tagline.
Wow, tagline indeed.
And he actually gave us an interview when we were down in Ames at the straw
We
poll.
gotta pick up this name you dropped. Hang on a second. But there you go. Blue collar corner. But okay, I think we're going to take a few lessons from tonight. The first lesson is Gingrich is going to be around. If he can survive this attack, he can survive other attacks. But he's going to come out swinging, I think. Perry, I think, is going to be around just because of the money he's kind of struggling on right now. Paul's going to claim that he had this great victory, but he's got no traction whatsoever outside of this. I mean, his people flooded the area. They can't do the same thing over and over again. Santorum's the big winner tonight, and we'll see if he has enough momentum to carry this over another month.
I'm going to test my theory about Romney with you, and I want to tell you what you think. My theory is the reason Romney doesn't really resonate with conservatives like a Perry or a Santorum or even a Bachmann, to me, is the guy's not political. He's really not. He's more of a raw capitalist. He really is not concerned in the minutia of political ideology. He's more concerned about taking something and fixing it and making it work. More adherence to the free market as opposed to an ideology.
It's an interesting theory. I'll throw this one at you, though. I think Romney is probably the most detached from the everyday average American.
Detached?
Detached.
Why so?
Well, when you talk about his track record and everything that he's done in his life, it's always been corporate America, the corporate world, the Olympics, all these high and mighty things that, people aren't going to resonate with. When we talked about the $10,000 bet last time we talked, that is something that an American would look at and say, you're betting $10,000 frivolously?
That's true, Gene, but don't you want a guy who operates in those big worlds to run our country?
You do, but Iowa doesn't. If you're going to go to Iowa and
Well, I'm talking about overall.
Overall, I think
because he's been holding on to that 25% now since 2008.
Now you can look at it two ways. 25% want him, but 75% is still looking for an alternative even now. So I think people are going to have to maybe become resigned to the fact that maybe Romney will be the guy. Some of them are still in this idealistic stage because they see Obama and they see everything going on in this country and they want that shift in idealism. But what they don't realize is with a shift in idealism, you also need a shift in competency. And I think that when you start looking at competency, people are going to give a real close look to Mitt Romney.
Absolutely. Because when you look at Obama and his cabinet, you look at it, 7% of that group has any kind of dealing with the free market whatsoever. No one in that group has created a dollar's worth of wealth.
Absolutely right. The main thing we talked about with Obama in 08 was what real-world experience did he have? What executive experience did he have?
He was upside down in debt with credit card and real estate deals.
But he had a great teleprompter. That's what dazzled the American people. He was the anti-George Bush. George Bush, the public perception was, couldn't find a coherent sentence with two hands and a flashlight. He is a guy who speaks so eloquently, so magnificently with pedestals and columns and all these things.
Voltaire and Montesquieu, the guy was quoting everybody.
Absolutely, and these rousing speeches, and it's so inspiring. But it was all sizzle and no steak. Now you're looking for the sizzle and the steak.
I felt like everything was like a Hollywood veneer. You look behind, and all you saw was a couple of studs holding up a facade.
A mile wide and inch thick. Absolutely right. Now you need to find both. Romney is probably going to end up being the guy, but Romney's going to have to prove to the American people that he, quote-unquote, feels their pain, and he's going to have to say that I have a plan, and it's got to be a real plan to fix America. He's good. I think his plan is going to be good. I think that when it comes to plans, he has one of the more detailed plans out there. He's got to have empathy. And that's what he's missing right now.
The connection. Now, listen, I'm holding you a little long here because I respect your opinion. I want to kind of play with you a bit.
Absolutely.
First off, did you hear that within the Democratic Party there is starting a rift and almost a kind of a covert campaign to tell Obama not to go for the second term? And as a matter of fact, there was a very good article written by Doug Schoen and Pat Caddell where they both stated that the worst thing that could happen to the Democratic Party is they actually go for the second term. And they think the only way Obama's going to win this is to go so heavy negative campaigning that if he does win, the aftermath will be such scorched earth and the wake of destruction and just ugliness and bad feelings afterwards, that the country will be in such an awful place mentally from this awful campaign that we're about to approach, that nothing is going to get done. The Democratic Party will be tainted for the next decade or so. And they're actually begging him to stand down and have Hillary Clinton step up. Now, now this is not a theory. Now, this is something that Doug Schoen and Pat Caddell wrote. This is public record. What do you think of that? Have you heard anything about that, and what are your thoughts on it?
I haven't really heard anything about it, but it's an interesting theory. It's an idea of repackaging the Democratic Party, because right now the package is the Obama package. And
he's not our president.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every president who ran in this country, he was our president. Even if he was not in your party, he was our president. I feel like this guy is not my president.
You're absolutely right. And what they're trying to say is we need a change even within our party. Is Hillary Clinton the change? I don't think she wants it right now. I think traveling the world is kind of wearing on her. If you look at her over the past 4 years and the dramatic change in Hillary Clinton's demeanor, it's really astounding. She went from being this dynamic personality as senator from New York, and now she's fallen into the background. She's traveling the world. She's looking a little more her age, I think, even. It could.
You don't think she's laying back? Maybe gathering and marshaling up her forces?
She could be. I mean, but at this point, I don't know. But it is an interesting theory that these Democrats are putting out there. The scorched earth method is what Obama's going to have to do. He's going to have to pin everything on an unpopular Congress. And people have to remember that for 2 years, that was a Democratic Congress.
That's right.
And people have to remember that, yes, Congress may have done A, B, C, and D, but where was the leadership from the executive? I remember when I was a kid.
Gene, the last time he met with Congress leadership has been 6 months since he met with Boehner.
Absolutely. I remember when I was a kid. President Reagan, President Bush the first, and I like to call him George Herbert Walker Bush, they would always have their own budget plan. They'd buy airtime on TV. They'd outline their plan. They'd put it to Congress. It would always be called dead on arrival. We're never going to pass this whole thing. But it was leadership. It was, this is my plan. You don't like my plan, come up with something different. When was the last time you saw Barack Obama come up with a plan and actually put it down on paper and say, this is what we're going to do? He didn't do it with any budget that I can think of.
There hasn't been a budget yet. It was turned down, and his own people voted against it.
There's no budget because there's no plan. And they're playing politics. They want to show the American people that, look, the Republicans in the House, they're the bad guys. Republicans in the House control 1/2 of 1/3 of the government. The other 5, 6, well, obviously Supreme Court doesn't get involved in, but the other branches are Democratic controlled. You're telling me that when you had a Democratic Congress, you couldn't pass a budget? It's supposed to be your agenda being put forth. How is that even possible? The man is bereft of leadership, and that's what people are going to see. When you look for a president, you want a leader. You want somebody that's going to, you go to bed at night and say, everything's going to be okay tomorrow. Barack Obama's not that man.
Gene, thank you so much, sir.
Great talk.
I appreciate it.
BlueCollarCorner.com. Go to it.